All right. Oh, it's wonderful with the light. Thank you, Theron. Thank you. I'm so happy you like it. Alrighty. Let me get a little water break before I read. And here we go. I'm going to start reading in just a moment. Gotta get the story right up. And everything will be great. And I'll let you guys know right before I start reading. A nice countdown. Let me just prepare my voice for a moment. Here we go. Haha. In the count of 10, I will start the story. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And here we go. Hello, everyone. I am Miss Willow, and I proudly present a new fantasy story for you to hear. It is a fabled fantasy of love, adventure, valor, and great growth. The story consists of many original characters and creative adventures within the world of Farendale, a hollow land of dreams, metaphysical magic, and lore. The new tale begins here. The morning sun was at its orange and pink hue, blending amongst the countryside as young Amber Willow and her husband Louisa sat having their morning tea. A sweet and dazzling blend of hibiscus and raspberries, with a good and rounded-off sugar cube. It swirled around as they stirred it wildly with tiny silver spoons as the sugar dissolved, leaving its square form to memory as it became smaller and smaller pebble of crystals. Willow looked out the window at the orchards of peaches and apples looming beyond the hills. An open plain with few patches of forest here and there. Small forests consisting of just a roundabout of trees, not big enough to become lost whatsoever. The morning bellow of Lord Hemlock rang around the grassy fields and shook the tiny yellow flowers rapidly, like bumblebees' wings. He was a dragon of kind nature, caring and protecting the woods. Although the townsfolk didn't take very well to dragons, unless it be King Augustine, their king, which was a dragon. Other four-footed dragons appeared rabid and unfriendly to the masses. It takes one great warrior as Willow herself to charge into situations where they become knowing friends. Willow has a peculiar way with mythical beings. She once stopped a relentless fire-breathing monster of a dragon from burning down village after village and pillaging treasure with just one conversation. Augustine, although as great and bold as ever, relies on her almost solely to handle these encounters. Happily to do so, she embarks on the most treacherous of quests, but with a smile on her face and a skip within her trotting. Some believe it is not possible to approach scenarios without fully shining armor and the largest sword in market. Willow? Neither, just a raspberry cookie and a bag full of journal sketches. The wind howled outside as the trees blew around in a frenzy, and Willow sighed. Honey, do you think that the weather will bring the pests again? It's about the time of year. I can't let them attack the orchard either. The town depends on it. Louisa looked her in the eye and continued stirring the sugar as he thought. He spoke. You realize you're the best creature tamer this world has ever seen. At least this kingdom. Don't you, Amber? You just have to be yourself and step into the scene with forgiveness. The little guys need to eat too, and to them we've planted hundreds of orchard trees just for them. They don't understand like we do, so I think the best thing for you to do is show your sympathy, as you always do, he suggested. His angel wings folded behind him and had small ruffles. They rustled in the small breeze like little fluffy parts of a dove's feathers. Willow got distracted. No, I get that. I just don't want the king to deal with another shortage of fruits. It's bad enough the townspeople rely on me so much, but I truly want there to be a way for me to show them that they too can treat the dragons kindly as well. There is a shortage of reasonable folk here nowadays. You can't even go into the bakery without seeing a creature get turned down for being a dragon. My hard work and efforts are good and all, but I do this every year during the migration. I just feel awful for Augustine, Willow said sadly. Louisa could see her tension rise as she thought more about it. He took her hand and stood up, heading for the door as he replied again. Well, I'll come with you, as long as it doesn't rain. I have a funny feeling you're going to meet someone special this morning who can help. Willow smiled and hugged him. He smelled like lavender slightly, as they store their clothing with pleasant scented herbs and flowers. Her partner opened his wings and stretched them out, grabbing Willow and carefully flying down to the ground below their tower. She wasn't yet ready to tie her shoes, so he didn't want her feet to get wet. His neither. His fear of water was incredibly keen. They trotted along the fields, picking some flowers here and there, and making a bouquet along as they went. The orchard was obviously near, as apples filled the entire smell of the air. Green, golden, red, and darker purple types of apples, even a rare orange and white variety existed. Those tasted a bit more sweet than the rest, making good pies and excellent candies. Oh, were those expensive! The candy traders in town were very fond of their recipes, and each candy apple and caramelized chocolate-covered tart was worth gold. Willow sniffed the air. The smell of apples were a bit drowned out by the roots of the trees, with a musky lizard scent, which made her nose turn up. Her eyebrows narrowed as she spoke. They're already here. The king is going to be so upset. Why can't they get their apples on another island? Willow ranted on, and the moment Lovisa got sick of it, he interrupted her spiral and pointed to a tiny little mealy drake hovering right above their heads. A tiny striped sort of worm-like dragon. Willow looked up and reached for the apple that it was about to consume, and protected it from the mealy drake's bite. The creature glared at her and in a tiny squeaky voice yelled out, "Hey, who are you to take my apple from me? Get your filthy human hands off my treat, at once now, or I'll... The critter thought and remembered that his species were too small to breathe fire. He stopped his argument and sat perched on the branch and stuck his little dragon tongue out at the couple and blew a sassy raspberry. Willow crossed her arms. Well, you're one rude dragon, I must say. Please, have the apple. I was going to give it to you anyways, but you must realize, Mealy Drake. The dragon interrupted her rudely. Scarab. Name's Scarab, and you'll call me by my name, Miss Apple Hoarder. He spit at her. Willow tried to keep her composure and stay polite, as it's what she does best. Sure, Mr. Scarab, I would like you to know that your migration here to our orchard is set at a very unreasonable time for us. You see, these orchards are our community treats, and we can get them nowhere else quite easily, you see. You have wings, on the other hand, and we would prefer you try to migrate to another fruity paradise. Is that okay with you? Scarab laughed. His little chuckle rang in her ear like tinnitus and gave her a headache. A possible new magic ability of a mealy drake she must jot down in her notes. The critter laughed sarcastically and replied, We can fly! I mean, look at you two! You're a silly catbird and he has the biggest angel wings I've seen! Get your apples elsewhere yourself! Lovisa got embarrassed and tucked them behind his back, petting them as a comfort to him. Willow reached into her purse and pulled out a map. She showed the drake the island they call Farendale Kingdom. There were red marks where the orchards go, and on a key shared a few locations where residents can buy treats and pies made with those apples. The public picking area was large, but they leave enough for the merchants to do their works with. It's not everyone who has a great culinary talent. Willow pointed to the map and explained that the gray area outside the kingdom here holds peaches, oranges, and mangoes near the eastern coasts of the island. Scarab huffed and puffed about it and grabbed the map. He held it in different directions and tried to pretend he didn't quite understand what he was seeing. He held it up to the sky, squinted, and looked around puzzled before tossing it back to the princess. Well, he said, don't know of any peaches, but you do really pack an argument. Persistent little brat, I would say, Scarab insulted her with. She tried to stay understanding that his species are used to picking off islands of food and grown goods without care or thought for others. It was in their nature to take without second thought. But he seemed ready to leave. He plucked the single apple off of the end of the tree branch and took a bite rudely and crunched the apple in his little jaws loudly to prove a point. He lifted his wings and gave out a call which was ear-piercing. leaving the couple holding their ears like a firework went off. Willow seemed exhausted from the bickering, but saw a flock of mealy drakes take off and fly east where she had pointed them to. As the air cleared of the scent of their greedy scales, she sat on the grass and laid down. Her eyes watched the clouds roll by and the apples she saved, hanging like ornaments on each of the beloved trees. Memories flew by of her as a young child, scribbling dragon artwork in her journals and looking up at the trees. They were thinner and much more smooth back then. She reached and touched the tree bark with her hand, and the plates of scaly wood felt crunchy and heavy. The trees served this kingdom well and kind, and stand today holding rewards for those appreciating nature. She sighed and noticed Lovisa sit down next to her. He spoke hesitantly. Well, I didn't think you would be that mean, but you handled it very well. That map might come in handy more someday, he said. Good thing you ordered that from the king. Inside here is also a map of the castle itself. He opens the folded paper to see blueprints of a hidden room under the castle basement. Hoards of gold lurked there, and the map key hid no truths about it. Both the couple's eyes widened, and scrambling to fold up the map and stuff it back into their pockets, keeping intense eye contact, they shuffled, terrified. Willow rushed to speak. What do we do? What if Scarab saw the page? We can't let him get into the castle. He's small. He'll slip right through without the guards knowing. We can't have this happen. Lovisa's chest heaved as he blurted out another idea. Well, I didn't see him flip the page, but he could have far more defined senses than we think. I'm not a mealy drake. I don't know. He turned the map over and saw a page torn. The scraps covered themselves in dust, and the newly torn piece was stiff and wrinkled, looking like tiny teeth marks ripping it from the journal. Lovisa got silent. Willow, what page was this exactly? That's torn out quite newly? The couple held clenched and terrified faces and panicked suddenly. The castle loomed in the background silently and serene, but what was awaiting the king might be a terrible, terrible mistake. Stay tuned to more chapters. What will happen next? Is Scarab the mealy drake up to no good? Or is it mere coincidence that the page went missing? What do you think? Let me know! Alright, that is the end of the story for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I am so excited to write another little chapter of this in the future. Hopefully I can continue the little mealy drake scenario. Thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying. Feel free to leave your ideas and comments in the chat and or the comments, depending on where you are. Arden says that was super comfy, thank you. I'll have to look into your work more after my shift day. No problem, and I'm so happy you enjoyed the story. Yeah, I've always loved writing little things. I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel called Farendale Storytelling, and it has a bunch of the other chapters that I've written, so you can definitely listen to those playlists and enjoy. Thank you so much, by the way. Turga says, thanks for sharing. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for listening. Yeah, I am so excited about this. Writing stories and continuing them for a long time is something that I've loved making my time with. I've always had a passion for character development, and especially with art, I can really merge those two things together. They can make one, so I think it's very fun. If anybody has any questions or comments before I take a little break from the stream, feel free to throw those in the chat right now while you can. Serpent Cat says, nice PNG, Miss Willow. Thank you so much. I am very proud of it as well. I know the animation of her talking is a little bit like, it might not match up, but I still think it's pretty nice. Thank you. Alright, let me move back to the main page. There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm back. You guys can see me now. Oh boy. That was a fun story. First time that I wrote a story to read on Twitch. You guys,